team, Glenn Azar here. Welcome back to the Building Better Humans Project podcast. It is Monday, which means it is Mayhem Monday, and that means we have
Mayhem
in the building.
Hello.
Actually, I think you should sing more. We should do a sing on the podcast.
No, nobody wants people singing.
Stop it. Mili can sing.
Bring the guitar out and play Wonderwall. Everyone's gonna be like, ew.
They will not.
They will.
We promised that we would start these episodes with a lesson that we've learnt in the last week or something we're actively learning. And so I thought, do you want to throw that open? Can you think of something off the top of your head that you've learnt in the last week?
You start.
For me, what I've been learning, so I'm not going to say I'm there yet, but I've been doing a lot of reading. And when I say a lot of reading, like just through social media, to be fair, but around attachment styles. Just trying to understand why I do what I do. And so I started to read a little bit more, and I shared one of these with you a couple of weeks back, or really yesterday, I guess, in real time, but this will go there a couple of weeks later. And like it's just because I'm trying to understand myself a little bit deeper, I guess. And when you say to me, you're 53 years old, you should have it sorted out, I kind of get it, but then I also think we're lifelong learners, because I've heard people say before, a leopard doesn't change its spots, or, well, we're not leopards to start with, and we're not talking about the physical alteration of self, we're talking about the internal alteration of self.
But that makes it sound like I'm being harsh in general about your age and you need to have everything sorted out. That's definitely not what I'm saying. It's usually related to a very specific thing that I'm talking about.
And when you're emotional. But my point more is, and so I'm not having a go about that, my point more is that if I ignore that, because I'm 53, so I should already have it sorted out, and I don't have it sorted out, so therefore that's over for me. So I have to embrace that in the sense of, well, where do you need to grow and improve, and how are you going to do that? If that's what I believe, that we're a growth animal. Mm. So that feedback from you, I take as meaning that I'm not growing and developing, which, to be honest, in those specific instances up until now has been a fair assessment. So I don't take that personally at all. And I don't mean for the listeners to think that you're attacking me all the time.
Okay.
Because 95 or maybe 99% of our relationship is amazing, if I'm really honest. That's, if we had to guess a percentage, bearing in mind that they say 80% of all statistics are made up, including that one. So I'll just make it up a statistic. But I know it's a vast...
making shit up.
It's a vast majority of the time that our relationship is amazing. And it's never going to be amazing 100% of the time, because that's not the reality of the human existence. But this is, again, we're going back to a couple of weeks ago talking about feelings. If you say to me, you're 53 years old or whatever, you should already have this sorted out, get your shit together, and I take that really personally, then I'm never going to grow, because not only am I 53, I'm going to always be getting older. So that argument's never going to be good for me. Or for any of us, because the age you are right now is the youngest you'll ever be. But if you have a belief, and I've had people in their 40s even say that, it's too late now. We talked about this weeks and weeks ago, I'm 47, so I can't get in shape now. What are you talking about? You live to your 87 or... So anyway, I was just looking at that as a way of saying to myself, well, okay, where do you need to develop and grow? And I'm going to tie this back to a relationship for people listening and watching. If your partner is bringing up things in your relationship, there is no other human in the world that should be able to do that should be able to shine light on those darkest areas of yourself. So if you can't take your partner's feedback and you can't trust that and you're not willing to work on that, who are you going to take it from? Like, you're not taking it from someone at work. You're not taking it from someone you run into at the coffee shop. The person that you've chosen, remember this, you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with, and they've chosen you. Therefore, you have the reality or the real-time aspect of keeping each other to account on some things. And it's not saying that you're not good enough. It's just saying that shouldn't we be challenging each other to be better? Because we are personal development people. I think we all are. If you listen to this show, you are. And therefore, rather than take it personally, take it as, okay, are they right? Because just try that on for a minute. Are they right? Because sometimes I've been into workplaces where I'm not getting promoted and why aren't you getting promoted? And, the boss prefers someone else. But if they ask for feedback, it might be you turn up late regularly, you take a little bit longer to get things done than someone else, you don't seem to take initiative, and then they get offended. And then I'll say to them, but is he right? And they go, well, yeah, maybe. Okay, well, maybe fix it, rather than be angry at him. Because if you fix it, I'm just tying that back in. So what I've learnt is how to take that feedback, not as a negative, which I don't, how to take it as, well, what do I need to work on? And that's easy for me because you're pretty clear on that. and again, not in an aggressive way, just really honest about it. And then for me to look at myself and go, well, look, deep down I know I need to work on that thing. So either I pretend I don't and ignore it, which I've done, or I actually work on that thing. And so that's a pretty deep lesson to what I've learnt this week. But sometimes I'll be a lot less than that. But yeah, I just encourage people to try and work out what they've learnt. If you're journaling and stuff, work out what have you learnt in the last week. Don't just go through the motions. Mm-hmm. So that's mine. What have you got?
I reckon my biggest thing, which I said last week as well, because I was learning how to take a break. I think I've learned that it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I had a week off training. Didn't set foot into a gym, which is the longest I haven't done that in such a long time.
Never since I've
Even in taper week, we're still doing something. So say we'll go skip or we'll go shadow and also in the past few taper weeks, because I tore my ACL a couple of years ago, I've had to continue keeping strengthening that leg, because even 1 week, not now, it's kind of better, but in the past, even 1 week off that leg would start feeling weaker. So I had to maintain that strength throughout that taper week anyway. So last week a couple of weeks ago, I took a week off, and it was really, really good. So I didn't set foot into the gym. I didn't worry about what I was eating. I didn't worry about what I was drinking. I had cocktails. I had wines. I had shots even.
She lost a card game.
Whatever. So the waiter came over and gave us shots to whoever was losing, but he didn't have them because he doesn't drink much. Anyway.
I definitely don't. I've never had a shot in my life.
Well, we're going to change that just for once.
And so Mili, he bought 2 shots. It was a very, I would say, upper class place. It was really
nice. It was nice.
And we were just going there going out to the Ursula concert, I guess you call it a concert for a comedian, whatever.
Performance.
And so we went there, and we play cards everywhere we go. We play a card game in PNG that's called Last Card.
It's just our thing.
It's kind of like Uno, but just with a normal deck of cards would be the best way of explaining it. And it's just what we do. And I love it. We've done it in airports and coffee shops and restaurants. We've been to Moo in Brisbane and we've played it.
From pretty much the start of our relationship.
Yeah, it's our thing. Yeah, so very, very rarely, even on the way here, we stopped and I had a pack in my pocket and you didn't even realise. We stopped for some Vietnamese. I said, you want to play cards? You said, did you bring them? But very rarely I don't bring them. Occasionally, so we've got sets in every car now and in my bag. And so we're doing that, and he just come over and was like, it was a vibe. And then I'm not going to lie, other people were judging us. There was an older couple that were looking across us, behind me, so I didn't see them, but like, oh, and actually mouthed the words, are they playing cards?
Yeah, because they're like sitting over there, and I was like, the couple at my 11 o'clock, just as soon as you put out the deck of cards, were like, are they like their mouth, and I could read mouths, and they're like, are they playing cards? And it's just like, but to be fair, when I was like looking over, they weren't talking to each other at all. Like we were playing cards and engaging and talking, and not to compare, but don't judge me.
Yeah.
Because you're boring. Sorry.
Yeah, and so then he comes over. He was a real vibe too. He says, you guys play cards? I love that. And he said, I'll do shots for whoever loses, which is a weird thing to do. Anyway, Mili did lose 2 games, but he bought 2 shots over, so I'll give you 1 each. And she never lost a game after that. So I don't know what was in the shots or if you were setting it up to so you could win the shots. But she took both of the shots and she'd already had a couple of cocktails. And that was the week off. And so I want to address 2 things in what you're learning, which is to have time off. For other people, we regularly get told, it's all right for you when they're talking about Mili because of her physique, because of genetics, and definitely PNG people have amazing genetics, but you have to do something with them. There's plenty of overweight people.
I've been chubby in my life. When I worked at Hungry Jack's, it used to be 6 nuggets for the customer and 3 for me, and we sell a lot of nuggets, so I ate a lot of nuggets.
But then I think what you're seeing in her physicality is consistency, right? So, but even too much of a good thing can be too much, so you need to know when to have a break, which we're finally having. But for you out there, if you're not getting the result you want, you're doing it in reverse. So you're going to the gym occasionally, a couple of times, and then you're convincing yourself you deserve 3 or 4 days off. Or you're listening to your Garmin. People have these Garmin watches. I'm not disrespecting Garmin, but I know when we do Kokoda, after 1 or 2 days, it'll say to people, you need to sit down for 72 hours. Nobody needs to sit down for 72 hours. We're just walking. I mean, it's challenging, but it's just walking. And so sometimes we can convince ourselves we've worked hard enough for the cake and hard enough to have a break now. And when I owned a gym, the amount of people that say to me, I don't want to overtrain, a normal human cannot overtrain. You don't have the time of the day. Athletes definitely can. You've definitely got to reel an athlete in. But for a normal human, you won't overtrain compared to what you eat and all that.
Your 45-minute PT session twice a week is not overtraining.
Not overtraining.
I promise you. Yeah. I promise you.
Absolutely not. I had a lady once, I was training a group of chiropractors, and they were training twice a week. This was when I was in Toowoomba. And this one girl was pretty aggressive around her nature of, being a medical specialist, and I was just a PT. And I was a registered nurse and a paramedic, but she didn't know that. But and she said, we're doing too much. We did one weight session every fortnight. So it was more about connection for them and fun. They do a bit of boxing. And she said, I'm putting on too much weight because we're doing too many weights. So we're doing one session a fortnight. So once every 14 days, we're doing a weight session. And it was kind of a body pumpish session. So, 20 reps. And
so it's more endurance.
Yeah, I said, you're not putting on muscle from that. She goes, yes, I am. And she wasn't putting on muscle. I'm not being rude, but it wasn't muscle. And she said, my clothes are tighter. She was right. But again, it wasn't muscle. But I said to her, if you're legitimately putting on too much muscle from one weight session a week, the AIS would be taking biopsies of you and knowing what do we need to do to get our athletes.
Yeah, like how can we have kids with this woman because we want them genetics?
Yeah, you'd be a physical freak. You'd be on the 1980s German program where they're trying to win Olympic medals. So that's about having real conversations with yourself around the fact that consistency at anything will get you a result.
Yeah.
And your physical body, and I'm doing this thing at the moment, which I'm calling 5335, Project 5335, just my age reverse. How do I bring my biological age down closer to 35? Because people say I look fit for my age, but I'm not happy with my health and fitness level. So I'm going through a whole series of checks. And a lot of people said they want to come on that journey with me. But your body is a physical representation of every decision you've made, every action that you've taken. And that's a very hard truth for people to hear.
100%.
Because then when I'm overweight, they like to say I'm big boned or I'm this or I'm that or it runs in the family. And we've all heard those sort of jokes around that stuff. But the reality is, if you take a consistent action, you will get a result. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying at my age I'm going to have a six-pack anytime soon, but I probably...
You could.
Yeah, I'm saying, but I'm not guaranteeing that necessarily. I know people that have had six packs when they were half fit. Some people do genetically definitely have a difference, but other people have to work for it. I understand all of that. But for me, it wasn't about trying to have a six pack or trying to be an athlete. It was just how do I be in the best physical shape I can be in so that I wake up in the morning and I feel energized. And this is one consideration with the age gap, which gets brought up a lot, which we don't really see the age gap. I don't. Because we live very much on an equal footing. I can understand if me being the older and being the male and I was trying to dominate you and you're a woman that allowed that to happen, I can see where an age gap could become a problem.
For sure.
Because you can be manipulated, but that's anyone that knows Mili, that's 100% not a thing. So, in fact, if there was any misbalance, then it's probably in your favour.
Oh, stop it. The poor guy.
I'm just beaten up. I'm emotionally bashed, vulnerable. No, I should have made jokes because people do go through that stuff, but that's not us. We are, as someone mentioned last week, two strong people, and that creates its own challenges. But mostly, I think we're growth animals as well. So that's where I could see the age gap being a difference. But what I do notice about the age gap for me is that I want to be around you, with you, and useful to you as a partner for as long as I possibly can. I don't expect at 70 to be getting pushed around in a wheelchair and I'm overweight and because you're only 50. And you're going to be like, no, I didn't sign up for that.
I've grown very accustomed to having my coffee made for me in the morning.
Yes.
Like when I have to do it myself, I'm like, what is this? What is this?
You've got used to my coffees. And that was this morning because I had to take the car out for service.
Yeah.
And so it's, the onus is on me. It's not that Mili's put any pressure on me, although she said, I want to get 30 or 40 years with you. She doesn't want me to die anytime soon. And I read the stats, actually. I didn't tell you this, but a couple of days ago I read the stats. There's another lesson I've learned around the ages that we die.
Don't make me sad.
No, it's not a bad thing, but Australia is in the top 5 for age that we die at older, and it's in our 80s. And in 1950... Americans are like 28th on the list. For a developed country, that's crazy. I lived in America for nearly 9 months. I understand it's very hard, even in the supermarkets, to buy good, healthy food. It's crazy. And everything's sugar-loaded, and that was my experience of living there. It was very, very hard. So, in particular, when you've got athletes that you're trying to keep on weight and all that sort of stuff, and you're trying to cook for yourself, very difficult. And when you eat out, they very rarely put a side of vegetables or salad. It's always potatoes and cheese, loaded, like proper loaded. And so it is, so I guess I understand it. But for Australians, it was, in all capacities, women are older than men. Australians was 87 for women from memory and 83 for men. In the 1950s, that was 49 for men in 1950, which is crazy, and 54 for women or 56 for women, which is also crazy that's our life expectancy back
Do you reckon
then.
because the healthcare wasn't as
I think
developed
because
as now?
we probably ate better back then, but we probably physically worked a lot harder. You just kind of worked yourself
True.
down.
There was less, I'm going to say like safety measures.
Yeah, you were going through...
In hard work, so like in tradies, there was less safety.
The depression through the 1930s and 40s probably meant that we didn't eat that well. Obviously, you had world wars in those periods. There's a lot of things to consider, but then I looked at it from this point of view. At 53 years of age, as I currently am, if 83 is the average life expectancy, I could live to 93, I could live to 103, we don't know. But if it's 83, then I've got 30 summers left, 30 winters, 30 Christmases, and that makes me think a little bit differently about how I approach all those things or where I spend my time. I really don't like to waste my time, but what I used to view as a waste of my time is different than what I view it today. Once upon a time, just sitting at home on a weekend would have been, I'm wasting my time. Now I look forward to that because we don't get to do it very often. We just get to chill.
It's always
we get
something
to go to the boys'
do.
footy. We get to go to barbecues with the family. We had a good family barbecue a few weeks back with cousins and all that sort of stuff, and that was pretty cool, like 20, 30 people, whatever.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's my jam.
100.
Hanging out with
And
my
just
family,
chilling.
eating, drinking, having a laugh.
But
That
once
is
upon a time, I used to
everything to me.
I used to give all my time to other people outside of family. And so then I watched this thing, I just watched this thing this morning. There was a video where this Māori guy that I follow, and he said, and he was talking to himself, but he acts these pieces out. And he said to his cousin, it was supposed to be, if you could be the hero or the villain, which would you be? And his cousin said, the villain. And he said, why? Why would you choose to be the villain? And I never thought this way. He said the villain does everything for themselves and everything for their family, their immediate circle. The hero does everything for everyone else and their family ends up losing out. I never thought of it that way.
We've done that so many times.
Yeah,
Like we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, how we just displaced our family because we wanted to help people and be the hero, essentially.
Yeah, so when sometimes you need to be the villain and say, you know what, my family is more important to me. So right now, I don't want to displace Christian out of his room or for mum not to have somewhere to stay when she's coming from overseas to stay with us. Couldn't stay. So we need to just rearrange what's important to us for the next, for me, 30 plus. But also, I went and saw a doctor and got all my tests done, which I'm going through a whole process of everything. I said, top to bottom, I want to go through everything. Echo stress test. He said, well, let's do an ECG first and see if we need one, but I still want to do one. I want to know what my heart's doing and all that sort of stuff. And yes, I can still do the Kokodas and all that sort of thing, but what I want to do is I want to be as physically capable and active for as long as humanly possible. So I'd still like to be leading adventures at some level in my 70s, if it's possible. But also we don't know when things change. And it's not just the physical, the physical you have control over. So if you're not in physically good shape, as in energized in the morning, sleeping well, which is a challenge for me, not feeling like you need a nap at all hours of the day, just feeling crappy. If that's you, you should change that. Because the thing you can't change is what happens in here. And what I mean by that is things like Alzheimer's, right? You don't know what sort of things are going to creep up on you, but you can control your physical self. And if you're out of shape physically, carrying extra weight, and again, you don't have to be an athlete. We've got a good friend of ours that was 30, 40 kilos heavier. He's lost a ton of weight. He's still actively going to the gym. He doesn't look like an athlete, but he's way healthier than he used to be, and he's very conscious of it, but he still does all that, have a drink. And I would just suggest people change that side of themselves, and that's what I'm trying to do. But it's easy for me to take other people's feedback and go, oh, you don't look 53. Oh, you look fit for your age. I don't want to be fit from age. I just want to be fit. And I'm not that. And something that you said to me once is that, or you sent me, is that a love language is training together. That's definitely for you a love language. I can't keep up with you.
You don't always have to do every single session with me like you're going to jump into the ring, but we can go to the gym and do my weight session together.
Yeah. And
or
that's
we could...
That's what we've got to do.
But we also we walk together and stuff a lot. So I do love that.
More of it. But we did some running together early in the year and I just ended up blowing a calf.
Yeah,
and
it was hectic.
Yeah, and I got big calves.
Yeah, I was like, maybe we should just tone it down.
Explain on that. So I wanted to start. I read this thing the other day that I did a video on this for my Instagram, which I don't know when I released that, probably before this episode, but I read it to you this morning and I want to read it to everyone. Because I've experienced so many people in this, and it ties into what I just said about being the best version of yourself. So it was called The Bitterness of an Unlived Life. It said, the world is overflowing with people haunted by the ghosts of who they could have been. Not because life was cruel, but because they never answered the call. They betrayed their own potential, they silenced their own greatness, and they played it safe while their soul was screaming for more. And now, bitterness, negativity is their armour. The athlete who never chased their dream mocks the one who did. The lover who never dared to risk their heart spits at romance. The brilliant mind that settled for online debates over real generational impact dismisses greatness as luck. Their cynicism, though, is not insight, it's a reflection of regret. So the next time someone cuts you down with criticism or contempt, pause, look deeper. You might just be staring at the ruins of someone's unlived life. That is so powerful because we take feedback from people who might, and I'm not just talking about you and I, just anyone who attack us for a thing that we're doing, and we internalise that as maybe I shouldn't be doing it, maybe society disagrees with me.
Or sometimes you won't even do the thing, which
At
we've
all.
also spoken about is other people's opinions, because you're worried that that particular person in your life who is always like cynical and like always this person is going to be like, you're worried about their disapproval.
But what you're actually possibly looking at is their own regret of their unlived life, their unfulfilled life. And what a perspective shift, because that allows me to look at them almost with pity. Like,
like you might have like a not great relationship with your father, and then you might go, oh, what will dad think if I tried to do that thing? But you're actually looking at his regret of his life.
I probably lived in the shadow of my dad for longer than I should have. And to be honest, I blamed him for a lot of years, but I think now that was actually wrong because I moved out of home at 14. So really, what influence did he have on me? Particularly, we're speaking a little bit now, and so this is 100% not to disrespect the man because he has his own stuff going on, but in my mid-20s and even into my mid-30s, we barely spoke. Maybe we saw each other once every 5 years. Can I honestly blame him if I'm still stuck somewhere in those 5 years?
Not in your adult life, but those first 14 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, they played a lot on how you go through your whole life.
Well, the only way to resolve that, for me, the only way if you want to resolve your past issues is you have to confront them. And I didn't do that for a lot of years. I just held blame on both my parents for things. I held blame hard. And then when I was about 27, 28, I deployed to Bougainville. For those that don't know, Bougainville, everyone always laughs like, oh, Bogans. Like, Bougainville's in the North Solomon Islands and it's a part of PNG. They're a very different race of people to PNG, though. They're very dark in the point that when we're over there, we were actually told in our briefings going into our army, they teach you what culture you go into. And the locals actively would tell us too that they believe themselves to be the blackest race in the world and they're very proud of that. And when Bougainvilleans, they just stand out.
Yeah.
And we've got some good friends, Fidelis and Petrodella, who are from Bougainville. And so we went and deployed into that country, and I was there on 8 or 9 months. This is pre-internet days. This is, you didn't have like music in a phone or things you could watch. So you took books, and I took Nelson Mandela's Long Road to Freedom. He'd just been released after 27 years in jail. And I read the book, and I don't know if you know much about that story, but after 27 years of being locked up, and he wasn't locked up with any specific charges. He was a lawyer, and he had a voice, and he was a very good speaker, and he was pushing against the white ownership that had taken over South Africa, so apartheid, where black people they had to have a license to leave their village. So their license was for their village, and if they got caught in another village and their license didn't cover that, they got arrested and put in jail, because they'd left the confines of where they were meant to be. Crazy. And if you look a little bit into Australia's history, boundary roads in every...
I can't stand the boundary roads.
We have that same thing. I get goosebumps talking a bit about this. But after those 27 years, when apartheid gets broken down and he gets released, he is the most powerful man in that country. He ends up becoming the president. But even before that, every nation in the world is supporting him. They've heard his story now. He then could have put absolute retribution on the people that locked him up, from politicians to prison guards that used to spit on him and stuff. And he didn't. What he did for the first 2 weeks is he had breakfast, lunches and dinners with every one of those people. He went to their houses sometimes. He organised it. Obviously, he was very powerful. They were probably very scared. And I remember thinking, screw that. I'm using that power. I'm 27, 28. I'm using that power to take that sucker down.
Every day.
Yeah, but what he said at the end of that is the reason I did that is if I had hatred for them, and he's much older by this stage of his life, if I had hatred for them, then they still win. They've still got me locked up because they know that what they did to me for the last 27 years, I can't escape. It's still in my head. And the only way for me to get over it is to get you back. And that changed a lot for me. Now, it took me another 20 years to learn how to, or not even 20, but, probably to learn how to forgive. I'm not a forgiver, and I'm definitely not a forgetter.
I don't forget. I find it very hard.
Same, very hard. But that was the first book that started to change that perspective for me. Then I went and did some coaching courses with a company called the Coaching Institute. I've done a few different ones. I've done a sports psychology course, not a degree, and one of the things they made us do was they said there are significant timelines in your life where things happen. And this isn't about trauma. It could be, but it's not necessarily. For example, with young girls, as in dads in particular, we praise them for their looks, like they're beautiful and you're a princess, and boys we tend to praise for their strengths. You're fast, you're strong, and they're saying they're traits that are good traits, but this one is just on your looks. And we don't realise it because all dads in particular want to tell their little girls they're princesses, is that they grow up thinking looks are the most important thing, and then society reinforces that. So when a thing happens, there are significant key times in your life. So one of them's around that 7 to 10, I can't remember exactly, but 13 to 14, and then sort of 19 to 21, and then you start to reinforce it. So if you have a bad experience, which everyone's had with a boyfriend or girlfriend at 13 or 14, say you're a girl and you get told that you're not worthy or you're overweight or you're not pretty enough, whatever the thing might be, then if that happens again, you collect a bit of evidence around 19, 20, 21, then you forever will have an issue with that thing unless you address it. But most of us don't. So when I did this course, they made you go through and look for things that you think are issues for you. And I found that really challenging because I'd never looked at this stuff. And so...
You're like, there's nothing wrong with me.
I'm me.
Me? What? Have you met me?
And I used to say, I've processed this. And both of my sisters, and they won't mind me saying this, they've been in counselling and seen psychologists for 30 years, my older sister in particular, and nothing's really changed in her life. And I sat down with her once when I was going through this process because I stayed at her place and she lives on her own with a couple of cats, and I was doing the course in Melbourne, and I was talking to her about it, and she's saying that a lot of the things that happened to us as kids, the physical things, happened to me because I was the only boy, and my dad did have this weird moral compass that you don't touch women, which is a great thing to do, but his psychological abuse of the women in our house was pretty intense, but back then that wasn't considered a thing. You know, like in punch holes near my mum's head. My mum's 5'4" and my dad's 6'3". He's a big human. And so that was damaging. But my older sister, when she was seeing, this is how wrong I was, she's seeing for 30 years seeing a psychologist, I'm saying, like, isn't there meant to be a result from this thing? Like, and then I said to her, I don't understand what you're seeing a psychologist for. Like, what did you go through? Like, and she said to me, it was the things I watched you go through. You don't think about that because I was her younger brother. And said, whereas my dad, even when I was 10, 11, 12, he would physically want to fight me because I was a boy, that was okay. But I was a little kid. You think of my size, if I want to physically fight Sam and Mili, that's ridiculous.
No.
He's a ragdoll them. And that's my dad. I remember once.
Smash you with a baseball bat so quick.
Well, remind me of that because I'll come back to that. This is one of the issues I have. So I remember when I was 12 maybe or 13, ATM cards became a new thing. Because they used to have credit cards that they ran through on the machine.
Yeah, I've used those.
ATM cards came out that you could put in to get cash out because those credit cards never used to do that. So they became a new thing. And we moved into a new house and I opened the mail and it was a Westpac card, I remember it, with someone's from the old owner's name. Now, to be honest, I never knew how to use one. No one knew what they were really, but I just kept it. And it was under my bed. My dad found it. And my dad hates the idea of theft, of stealing, because he spent time in the military and they're really big on that. And I came into the house and he attacked me over it. Like he physically, by my throat, lifted my feet off the ground. And I threw punches at him. I did no damage to him. But I remember it being a very violent incident between him and I. And so those things, I understand my sisters had to witness that stuff. I would fight anyone, anywhere, anytime when I was a kid. Like when I was at school and when I was in year 7, I'd fight a kid in year 12. I'd never win one of those fights, but they didn't scare me the way my dad scared me. So this is all the stuff that you've got to go back and process. And the issue, like you just said, you would smash me if I did that to your boys. My mum didn't do anything. Now, I have to, as an older man, say I understand that she was in a pretty shitty relationship too, but...
It may have been... No,
I still think you should have protected your kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think you should... As a mum, I remember us as young kids urging my mum to leave my dad, because back in those days, Mum made some money, she did home babysitting and stuff like that, but you know, the dad's a breadwinner and you can't really leave, and I understand all of that.
I believe in not even that long ago, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts on their own. So I imagine like trying to have like empathy for your ma, it would probably been a harder time for her to leave your dad. But then later on down the track when she did leave your dad, when you guys had gone, it's just like, so you could have.
Yeah, but we were like 30. But
Yeah.
I tried to have empathy for her, and I don't want to bag my man, and I don't know that she would listen to this, but we've tried to have this conversation. But there are still things that happened in my childhood that she absolutely should have stood up for, no matter what risk it was to her personally. And that's the difference. I know you would, but also maybe we're at a different age. So it's it's really hard to...
I would put it this way. I'd rather be homeless with no money with my children safe in some sort of way. Yeah. I'd rather take them to a shelter than have some guy like do all of that just so I could keep community status.
And how often do you hear that story where a stepdad or a boyfriend comes in and treats kids poorly and the mum just puts up with it? Or sometimes they participate in it. We know that in the youth work that we do. So definitely, like I can understand with not leaving my dad. I can understand the community times. They were kind of the golden family because we come from a pretty low socioeconomic family, as in, a lot of poverty and drugs and alcohol. And because he was in the military, they had a bit of status, I guess. And they liked it. Because I've spoken to cousins of mine who I'm not close to a lot of my family. I've spoken to cousins and said, when we were growing up, you were like the golden family. But they didn't see what was happening behind closed doors, for one. So my point to all of that is that if you've got a lot of unresolved issues, and I don't care if you're 60 or 70, because I have people in their 60s and 70s think you can see the trapped behaviours and the trapped belief systems, and you owe it to yourself to try and go and explore why you think what you think and how can I change it. Or you drag it through life like a chain, like it's chained to you forever. And you and I know people like that, that no matter what good is, they're looking for the bad thing in it. They're looking for
other people,
100.
like, and then they have this story that they tell that their life they haven't always been so lucky. And I always get thrown that, oh, you're lucky. Like, I'm not lucky. I work hard, man. Yeah. Like I trained throughout my second pregnancy in particular, my first one, not so much. But, I'm not lucky. I train hard. And then, 6 weeks or so, whatever the time limit is after you give birth that they allow you to go back to exercise. I started earlier than that and it wasn't recommended, but I feel like they put a time limit on it based on like you should be healed by 6 weeks. But I'm not a medical specialist, so I'm going to say my experience was that I felt ready in 3 weeks after having my second child. And so I went and trained.
I've experienced a lot of tough things in my life personally and experienced it through other people, like through kids I've worked with and this is not to be all dramatic, but some of the things you've been through, which people would have no idea, and I know people that were in our circle that have judged you at some level, whether verbally to us or just through their actions, who have no idea what you've been through.
Yeah, because I don't carry that story with me because I'm not about to let things get me down because I've had these bad experiences in my life, like it's just not going to, I am not going to go through my life just being sad about those things. They still get me sad sometimes. And like sometimes I'll think back on it and I'll be sad, but it's just not like, I'm not going to live your story. I'm not going to allow that to be my story.
Yeah. And so by understanding why you are the way you are and the things that you're being challenged by, and the best way to know that is by what triggers me. And it's hard in the moment because, as I said the other week, the emotions they just pop up. But then to go away and say, well, when you're a bit calmer, why did I react that way? Could I react differently? I don't know. But you can't do that if you don't know yourself. And so if you're a single person, that onus becomes on you. If you're in a relationship, you have to allow each other. And again, this is not a free right to be assholes to each other, but to shine lights on each other. And that doesn't mean there's not going to be emotion to it. It doesn't mean you're not going to be annoyed, but it's the only way that you're going to improve and grow. Or you can just pretend everything's okay, or you can keep dragging the same story. I love this idea that you get to write the next chapter. You get to write the end of your story. And I don't care if you've got 30 summers left or if you've got 50 summers left or if you've got 10 summers. None of us really know, but you should be rewriting the story that you want to live. And my rules are simple. As long as you're not hurting anyone else and as long as you're not doing anything illegal. For obvious reasons. If you're doing those two things, genuinely not hurting anyone else by doing what you're doing. So you chasing your boxing dream, not hurting anyone else.
Except my opponents.
Except your opponents. But that's, to me, I love that idea of people living their unlived lives or their unfulfilled lives. And we won't do that. So not only will we chase the boxing dream, which we're chasing, and business stuff that we're chasing, and still trying to be good parents and good partners in a relationship, But we're also looking at now some opportunities have come up where you're getting some real press in PNG. And Mili's from a place called Alatau, which is in Milne Bay, easternmost. Is it the easternmost province?
Yeah, so my hometown is about an hour drive from the most easterly point of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. And so one of the things we want to do is we're talking, we're trying to get some information out to mining companies and other big businesses. There's some really big business in PNG. There's a lot of poverty in PNG, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but then there's also some massive businesses that just take from this country. So we wanted to give something back. And what we want to try and do, we said, was launch sport, and in particular boxing, starting at Milne Bay, because we had 6 fighters from Milne Bay from the Missima team represented the national titles, one of the smallest teams there, and we won 4 medals, 3 gold and a silver. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And the president of the association wrote to us recently and thanked us for coming, thanked us for the support, because they know that Mili's in Australia now. She's got access to all the S&C and all the science and all the whatever, and she could just fight here if you wanted to. You can't fight for Australia because you're not an Australian citizen, but we could get that. Probably easier than re-getting the pension.
Oh my God, that's such a process.
So they thanked us for that, and then he suggested something I'd already been thinking. We would love to hold a fight night here in Alatau because Mili is so popular here and has so much press, and I think what a cool thing to do. And if we have a crack at it and fail with everything in life, at least we haven't lived an unlived life or an unfulfilled life. But I reckon we could sell that joint out. As in, I'm not talking sell that in monetary, like trying to make heaps of money out of it, but create an event, get some big companies behind it, that off the back of that we could maybe build a boxing club, particularly for females in sport in PNG who are getting a lot more press. I see footy players and taekwondo and, there's all these things, shot put. And so imagine bouncing as the main event, you and another girl fighting for a PNG professional title in your hometown, tens of thousands of people there maybe, I don't know, as many people as we can there, and then that starts up a little boxing club and then we'd have to finance that ongoing, and that to me is the unlived dream. That
actually ties me into this question that we got.
Oh, cool.
And also something that you said previously about pretty girls and all that sort of stuff. This question kind of covers that all. So someone wrote, why do you love boxing? I sort of get it, but I think, why do you like getting punched in the face? You're such a pretty girl. Don't you worry about your face getting screwed up? And we had a joke in the car when I first read this question, and I was like, that's why God made surgery, because you can just get fixed, right? But no, that's not why. And you said something about the pretty girl thing, and it's true. Like, we have this expectation of girls to be pretty, and that ties into when they're little, when we go, oh, you're so pretty, oh my God, you're gorgeous.
Becomes their most important commodity
is being pretty, and girls do get mostly complimented on their looks, and then the ones who maybe aren't, like, I guess, the socially normal pretty could be like a CEO. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they could pick a job that's not currently tied to being pretty.
Yeah.
Because then that's something that they can get complimented on. But it's just like, we put so much importance on women to be pretty. So much so that when they pick a sport like boxing, they're like, but you're so pretty though.
Yeah.
And
I think I just shared recently, I think we talked about on this podcast a little bit about Halle Berry saying that now she's like 60 or something. She said, I'm finally being complimented not for how I look, but for my skill set in my trade.
Yeah.
Crazy that she had to get to 60 to get that.
Wild. Yeah. Like, it's a long time to just be like, oh my God, you're so pretty. And then, subconsciously you're probably going to want to live up to those expectations. So you're going to go and try and be pretty all the time. And but yeah, so why do you love boxing? I love boxing. It's a one-on-one sport. You get to show and showcase everything that you've worked so hard for so long. And it's like, you don't have to you can't really rely on anybody else during the game, like during the match competition. It's just you and the other person, and at the end of the day, may the best man win. May the best girl win. I will.
And if you lose, you learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And we haven't lost yet. I know you've had one technical loss on your record, but we absolutely won that fight. And I'm not just saying that. Everyone says that probably. But if we legitimately lose, I know we'll go and go, well, where did we lose?
100%.
And we will find that.
we even know that we won that fight, and we've still watched it back and gone, well, what could have we done better to get an undoubted win?
And that's a two-piece. I look at my side as a coach because I held you back a little bit because I felt we were so comfortably winning. That's all good.
And I wanted to brawl.
And I should have pushed you to say, all right, this is close. Like if they had told us, hey, this is close after 4 rounds, I think you would have taken her out.
Yeah, 100%.
Because her nose was busted. She was in pretty bad shape. But yeah, why do you love the sport? And this is my thing about boxing, is people never ever ask a male, no matter how good looking he is, they never say, mate, why are you too good looking for this? Because it's okay for men.
It's such a common question that girls get, or they get, you're too pretty for boxing. That's not a compliment to me. Like, thank you. Like, that's not how this person worded that particular question, but I have gotten, you're too pretty to box. And it's like, that doesn't feel good for me. That just makes me feel annoyed because it's just like.
Just look after that one asset.
Yeah, just be pretty. Just sit there and be pretty. You know, the other thing that I absolutely love about boxing is it's taught me to be calm under pressure. So when I first ever started sparring, you get mad. You get hit in the face and you're like, I'm gonna take your head off. Like, you like actually do get mad. And then you make mistakes and you start swinging your arms everywhere, and if your arms are swinging, they're not at your face. So you're getting hit in the face more and more, and then you're getting more and more angry. And then after a while, it takes practice, but after a while of sparring, you realize that if I'm calm, I can see what I'm doing, you know, and that's.
I always say that boxing is a microcosm for life. And that's why I love corporate boxing. I've had, guys and girls that are doctors and lawyers and CEOs and big business owners. And when I was younger, I used to think, what are you doing, bro? Like, you're worth millions of dollars. Why are you getting punched in the face? I understand why I do it because I come from a lower socioeconomic, hard, tough background. And boxing's definitely suited to us, people that have had tough upbringings, because it's a tough game. It's not for the weak of heart. But at a corporate level, I think everyone should have that experience. There's a saying that says, how much can you really know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? Because it brings out emotions in you like you wouldn't believe. But when you get inside a ring, if you don't have emotional control, you get beaten most of the time. Well, that's life too. If you fly off the handle on every little thing, that some things need you to fly off the handle, but if it doesn't, then you're going to lose in life a lot. You're going to lose people, you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose jobs and situations. And so everything, if you're an over-emotional person outside, that'll show up in a boxing ring. Learning to control that in the middle of combat, being what we call the calm in the chaos, you're actually going to have better emotional control on the outside as well. I've always believed that to be true. You can tell a lot about someone by how they perform in the ring. But as you're learning, the calmer you are, the less you get hit, the more you land shots, so you can process what's going on in there. Can I just say, for people that have never followed the sport, I understand why it challenges you. I've been involved in the sport for over 30 years, so it's different for me, probably longer than that now, but I love the sport. We watch it all the time. We'll go and watch it all the time. We're students of the sport. We're constantly sharing videos of people's training. We love the sport.
Yeah.
But I can understand why it challenges people as well. But for us, to be honest, that's why women get paid so little, because I think people do, as good as the level is for women now, people still struggle with the idea of it. And I've had footy players, or Terry, I can say Terry out loud, Lommy's mum. So she says to me, I would never let her do that. And I was like, she's playing for the Broncos. She's played for Queensland in under 19 state of origin in rugby union, where you're getting smashed by girls bigger than you or whatever. And she's a machine at that.
She's a machine.
But there's way more contact happening in that sport than boxing.
Yeah.
And then when I've had footy players, I've had some of the young kids that we're working with, boys and girls, come in with a broken this and a damaged that. And I say, you should take up a safe sport like boxing. Because at least in boxing, it's a weight division. Someone should have equally as prepared as you. Generally, you're trying to slowly raise your skill level so they're similarly skilled to you. So you're not just getting easy wins, you've got to work for it, but they're prepared for you. There's no one coming from that side or behind you.
And I will just add, it doesn't hurt as much as you think that it does. It's stunning. Like, it stuns you for, like, when you haven't been punched in the face and you get punched in the face, you're like, ooh. Yeah. Like, and then sometimes if you haven't felt a particular person's power yet and then they punch you in the face for the first time, you're like, ooh. But then I put up a whole video on that. She punched me square in the face and I was like, ooh, like I literally saw stars. Anyway, we tapped glove and we kept sparring. But now, like, I'm expecting that. Like, I know how hard she punches. So it's like, it's not stunning anymore because when she unless she gets a real clean shot that I wasn't expecting. But for the most part, I'm used to how she punches now.
And it doesn't hurt as much as people think.
It doesn't blatantly, like, bluntly hurt as if you cut yourself or something.
It's not like a street fight where someone king hits you.
Yeah.
This is, you prepared, you've warmed up before you get into the match. Like, if fighters don't have a bead of sweat on them walking in, they're a good chance of getting knocked out early. You need to be warmed up. You need to be ready. Your whole system needs to be turned on. We go through a whole process. So it's very scientific. It's not just two people bludgeoning away at each other. And when I've trained general population people who are never going to fight, I train them like they're fighters just because, and they'll go, I'm never getting in the ring, but I want you to know. Then they go and watch the sport. They go, the nuances of this sport are crazy. It absolutely, But if you want to get the ultimate of performance under pressure, combat sports are it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But no, I don't worry about my face getting screwed up. I haven't really even thought about it. Like I haven't thought about it at all. So no, don't worry about it at all. Sometimes you get a black eye from sparring and you're walking around with your male mate and they're like, everyone's looking at him. So it's his problem, not mine. I'm sweet.
Like 6 foot 215 kilos.
Just sit like this, like just real like, just meek.
She cooked the eggs wrong.
Don't joke about that.
I know.
Stop it. And then, so last week's episode, we said that we were going to share a particular question that we got that was real deep and we didn't have time to cover it last week. So we have time to cover it this week. So we will. And yeah, do you want me to read it?
Yeah, far away.
It's about relationships. So we're going to deviate away from what we were just talking about and we're going to change the subject. So this question is, what are your thoughts on open relationships?
So that's so deep.
I know, and it's such an individual thing. And it's hard because it's such an individual thing and then you bring two people together. So it has to be like you have to mutually agree on that.
That's the first thing, You've got to agree. Yeah, like you have to absolutely be open. Like if you come and we start seeing each other and you tell me right up front that I'm 100% about open relationships, I get to decide. And if I'm mad on you early on, like, you get really infatuated, you think, you know what, I'll deal with that. Knowing full well I'm not going to deal with that.
That's your fault.
Because you think you're going to deal with it. So it's as long as, like everything in a relationship, it's open, as in the communication, not the relationship is open, and or you've got boundaries that if either one of us starts to feel some kind of way, I don't know. I just know for me that it's with you, it's 100% no.
Yeah, it's 100% no for me too. Yeah. Like,
and this is not a judgment on this question.
No, not at all.
This person.
Not at all. If that's what you're thinking about for your relationship, then obviously you just talk about it and see what the other person thinks. Keep it in mind that might break you up.
Yeah. If it's just a fetish that has been in your head, like having a threesome, and you think that's a thing, be aware that it could not turn out the way you want it to turn out. It could, what if they fall in love with that other person? Or what if they start, if you said to me, look, 3 nights a week I'm staying at Steve-O's joint. Steve-O? Listen, Jono. I'm staying at old mate's joint for 3 days a week. I don't know how I'd feel about that.
Yeah, no, I'm good for it.
Even when we fight and argue, I still like to lie next to you. We got a king-size bed. So even if there's a gap between us, I can feel you move.
And a pillow wall.
And a pillow wall. I can if that was to happen, I can feel you move. I know you're there. I know when you go to the toilet, even though I'm half asleep in subconscious, I can feel all of that. Whereas if I was to go and sleep on the couch even, I would feel very disconnected. So imagine if I'm knowing that not only are you not there, you're potentially having sexual activity and intimacy and cooking dinner, watching TV, all of the things, that's intimacy with another bloke. I would absolutely struggle with that. But I know of people that have done it and it works for them.
Yeah, it does work for them. And I've known of a couple who are not monogamous and they think of it in a way that we don't own the other person. Yeah. So they're like, this person is free as their own individual to go about their lives how they want and build connections with whoever they want to connect with. And I guess I get it from that point of view and like that's completely understandable, but it's not for me.
I admire that strength in a way because I just know I don't have that. Because my brain would be thinking that what if you like them more than me? What if you eventually the open relationships between them and someone else and I'm now no longer, I don't know. Like there's all these things that where you think you're not good enough or, and we're both very confident
But
people.
in saying that, there are so many different types of open relationships as well. So there's like ones where you're your couple and you guys are the original couple. I don't know what to call it. Yeah. But if I was to go out and I went to the club and I met some guy and I wanted to go home with him, I could go home with him, but I always have to come back home.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, even that I'd struggle with.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but I remember early in our relationship, so this is going to be pretty open and raw, I said that to you, that if you ever went out, because I've always said I never wanted to cheat on me, because I just think that's the worst thing in the world, to come home and find your partner in bed with someone or to, like that'd be pretty hectic to deal with. But I always said to you that if you went out and you ran into someone and you just wanted to because we're adults and we don't own each other. I said, if you just let me know. But now, as our relationships progress, I'm not okay with that anymore. And can we be honest? We've talked about threesomes and all that sort of stuff because that's everyone's.
Oh God, Mum's watching this.
I'm just saying.
I know.
I'm not going to go any further than say we've talked about that stuff, but now we both realise that, and that's not a thing for us. And so it's also, if you've got a good relationship, I think it should be okay to be able to say, that's not okay for me. And it's not personal. I'm not trying to own you. I just know that I'm going to feel some kind of way about that. And so that's not a thing. So it has everything we keep coming back to with relationships. The more open and honest you can be about your communication, how you feel, and not try and protect yourself or me, like if I'm trying to protect your feelings, and that's where lying and that sort of stuff comes in, and it's not protecting your feelings, it's making it worse. It doesn't matter what story you tell yourself, you need to take the honest feedback from someone. So if you're thinking this way, absolutely have the conversation. But the question is, how do we feel about it? For us, it's a no. But I would not judge you if you did it.
No.
If you're both about it. I was chatting to...
I actually find it like, oh my God, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it intrigues me why and how people do. So I was talking to someone who I won't name, but a good friend of ours from up north whose birthday we went to recently. And so I was talking to him. And
everyone's going through the Instagram like, whose birthday?
Well, this conversation came up. And he was saying that in past relationships... both of them had threesomes and been in really open sort of situations, and they talked about it since being together, and they actually organised. And the deal was there couldn't be another woman involved because she would just get way too jealous. But he was like, I'm okay with another male. But he said to her, if you change your mind at any stage, you've totally... And they organised someone. And this is unusual for men to have conversations like this, but we got a bit deep on a couple of things. No, I never even told you about this yet. But he then said... they came all the way to Brisbane, they had organised someone, and then on the afternoon or night she said, I don't want to do this anymore, I can't do it. And he said the other guy was really good about it, because this is a thing, this is a subculture of people out there that are into this, and he had told him it's all going to depend on her, and they just messaged him and said, hey, look, she's just not cool with it, and that was okay. So I think that's the other thing. Don't say yes to something and then feel like you can't change your mind. I mean, that's the whole consent thing, right? But this is a marriage or an open, loving... open, not in that sense, but a loving relationship, I should be able to say, yeah, okay, that's your fantasy. And we've asked each other that stuff before, and it's changed the deeper our relationship's got. But, yep, okay, I'm going to try that thing. But then as it gets closer to the end, you go, oh, actually, now that it's getting close, I'm just not feeling okay with it. Cool. And then he said to her, once they'd had that discussion, we'll never put that on the table again. So now it's gone.
Love it.
So they didn't have to do it to then take it off the table. She didn't feel trapped into, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to let him down, so I'm just going to do this. And now that's possibly got...
And then for the rest of her life, she could regret it. Yeah. She could feel like shit.
But now what he's shown her is, I think, a really honest love to say, whatever you decide, I'm going to back 100%, and that's what we're going to do.
Nice.
And I think that's actually a pretty cool way to approach it. But again, that question doesn't... It just asks our opinion of it, and we can only answer our opinion for us. And for us, it's a no.
No.
But we are really open and honest about it.
No.
Yeah, I remember when we first read that question, and I gave my opinion on it, and then you were driving and said, just so you know, it's a hard no for you. But my question, if you're already into this, whoever wrote that, is how do you find the time? Because relationships take time. So, yes, the one where you're talking about one-night stands or whatever, but if you're talking about seeing someone 2 or 3 times, well, that's now a relationship. And then how you've got to think of all the emotional attachments of... I don't know. It's very confusing. Being humans are very confusing.
I know. So, we would not find the time to have an extra...
Right now, we book something in that's necessary. I had to go to Child Services to organise a meeting with them for something that we're trying to do in this place, Child Safety Service in Queensland. And all last week I was meant to go, and then this week, like Mili's working a lot at the moment because, you know, it's a good chance to be honest, earn a bit of money to get her experience in the area we're in while she's not properly in camp. Is that fair? So she's doing all the work, and we're using that to help us in other areas. So I have to go and do the child safety thing just to organise a meeting that we'll both go to. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it. And you said, no, it has to happen this week because we keep putting it off every week. And that's something that is necessary. How could I fit in time to have a relationship?
I know, two people going, sorting out when you're going to go on a date.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. Yeah. You know how we have a week and then we plan out our week on the board?
Yeah.
And then something comes up and then we have to add something else in. Immediately annoyed. immediately annoyed because I'm like, oh, there's always something to do.
I actually added something in yesterday. Mili messaged me from work and said, why are we adding something in?
Like every time I think I have a bit of time off, we add something into it. And I'm not complaining because our life is pretty good. I mean, I'm complaining, let's be honest. Yeah. But
it's also a choice.
Yeah.
So I just look at, I look at Christian and kids like that, or even worse than him, that don't have the choices to be busy like us, to do the things that we do, to earn money, to make an impact. They've just got to get through each day. And I admire that at one level. On the other side of it, I think we're pretty fortunate that we get to do all the things that we do. And as we're learning through this podcast, it's inspiring other people, which really, I guess that's why Building Better Humans Project started. It was to inspire other people to take control and change their lives. And I think we're the most ordinary humans around. We all are, like all of us. I'm not Nelson Mandela and you're not Mother Teresa, and we're never going to be those people. No. But can we be the best at the things we decide to put our minds to? Well, that's what we're trying to find out.
Yeah.
That when we get to that stage of life where I'm sure we all get, at some point, be it on your deathbed or towards that end, where you're going, did I do all the things that I could do with what I had? And I reckon
I saw this quote that said, I want more of, I can't believe we did that, instead of, I wish I did. I wish I did that.
That's a beautiful way to turn
it.
Yeah, I can't believe we did that. And we say that all. Well, not that. We always say, who do we think we are?
Because we bite off more than we can chew, and then we chew really hard.
Yeah. Is there any other questions before we sign off for the week?
Not that would tie into this. So we might have to do them in a different...
All right. I just want to...
Well, we'll put NGLs out because, like we said, we want to open the floor to anything that our listeners have learnt. So if you'd like to share something that you've learnt this week and you want to be a part of that little club, we would love to have you, because every week we will try and share something that we learned.
And if we like some of those, or they're relevant, we might share a couple of them on the beginning podcast. Hey, we've had
and I'd love to... we love learning new things. So, you know, there's always... even if it's like some silly trivia fact. Yeah. Like just something, anything.
There's absolutely nothing off the table for us. We just may not share everything on the podcast if we just think it's too far left or right. But even that question about open relationships, hey, why not talk about that? It's not, it's not a big thing. And I know Mum watches and all that sort of stuff, so we don't make it uncomfortable.
I know. It's always uncomfortable for me talking about that stuff in front of my mum.
Yeah.
And she doesn't care. She'll talk to you about anything. Yeah. And I'm like, no, Mum, like, I don't want to hear la 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 la.
Like if you're watching music, there's a sex scene on and your mum's sitting there, you want to turn it off. Even in your 30s.
You'll turn it off. You know what she says though? We used to do that. Like we used to turn it off and she's like, oh, what, you kids think you invented that? I'm like, shut up, Mum. Shut up. I don't want to hear that.
I just don't want to picture it.
Oh, yuck. Love you, Ma.
All right, team, we'll sign off there for another Mayhem Monday. I guess the biggest key for me this week is, please, for whatever you do in your life, do not live an unlived or an unfulfilled life.
Don't get to the end of your life and think, I wish I did that. Yeah. Is what I'm trying to say.
Excellent.
Get to the end of your life and say, I can't believe we did that.
Let's go.
Let's go.